if I had to boil this video down to one or two sentences, it would be: fake news is achieved by priming people to believe whatever is said next in the news report. And secondly, by lying via omission, by leaving out context. This report, the Cryon, the entire time we've been watching, has said Maddie confession, prime suspect told pal she didn't even scream. If you did not watch past the first minute of this report, you would think that Christian Brueckner confessed to killing Maddie or to kidnapping Maddie, and that he said he told someone that she didn't even scream. But if you have 1 ounce of the skills I'm teaching on this channel, you would be able to scratch past that surface and see what's really going on. Was Madeleine McCann actually kidnapped? I'm a deception detective. I'm an attorney trained in statement analysis. And this channel exists to expose lies and manipulation. Before I proceed, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to spot fake news. And whether you came to my channel through my Ramsey's playlist, my McCann's playlist, my Amanda Knox playlist, my false accusers playlist, my hoaxers playlist, this video will be interesting and important for you. I think it might be one of the most important videos I've made, the skills I'm going to teach you here, since coming back to YouTube. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this news clip together. It's a news clip from Talk TV, and they're basically talking about Christian Brueckner, who allegedly kidnapped Madeleine McCann. And we're going to parse the ways you can tell whether or not the news actually believes what they're saying, and the techniques they use to manipulate your opinion.
Now, our top story tonight, a sensational development in the Madeleine McCann case, as a friend of the prime suspect says he confessed to killing the 3-year-old, saying she didn't even scream.
All right, so how do we start off? This all sounds really damning, right? This sounds very, very conclusive. We have sensational news. We have a friend of Christian Brueckner saying Christian Brueckner said she didn't even scream. I've watched this clip already, so I can tell you the actual information they have is very dubious. When they say it's sensational, they are being honest in that they are sensationalizing a nothing burger, right? They're taking something out of context. Also, the quote, which they have on the Cryon or Chiron or whatever it's called down here at the bottom of the screen. At the bottom of the screen. Prime suspect told pal she didn't even scream. Do you think Christian Brueckner told his friend, Madeleine did not even scream when I kidnapped her? Or do you think this very short pull quote is taken out of context? If you haven't seen the clip yet, I think you can already guess, if you're on my channel and you've seen enough of my videos, that when people want to deceive you, 99% of the time, they lie by omission. In other words, they leave out the context. So, did Christian Brueckner technically say the words, she didn't even scream? Yes. Now, let's see if the actual context is what the news is trying to imply.
Christian Brueckner is accused by German authorities of kidnapping and murdering Madeleine in Portugal in 2007, allegations that he denies. Well, tonight, Brueckner's best friend has given an interview revealing that he told British police about the confession and that Scotland Yard detectives ignored him. Now, this man, Helge Busching, knew Brueckner when they lived in the Algarve in 2008, and his testimony is a key plank of the German prosecutor's case. Now, Kai Feldhaus is the reporter who broke the story. I spoke to him a little earlier and asked him who Helge Busching is and why he's such an important witness.
Right. We have an important witness, a key witness. Helge Busching got a confession. Notice how they're building up. And I think that even print news does this, where they put what they want you to believe into the headline and then the little blurb below the headline, because they know 99% of people do not read the full article. Especially outlets like Forbes, for example, or the New York Times, which are behind a paywall. So they know that if you're coming for free, you're likely not subscribed to them. You're likely not paying to read the full story. So you are limited to the headline and the blurb. And this is a very manipulative technique, because often what they do is contradict themselves or add their caveats later in the same article. So you're left with the sensational impression that they want you to take away, which will cause you to share the story, sensationalize it. However, the important context is behind a paywall or left out altogether. So let's learn about this Bushing guy. Is he a reliable witness? Is he someone we can trust?
Helge used to be a friend of our main suspect, Christian Brueckner, who shared time with him in Portugal in the relevant years of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. They have been committing all kinds of crimes, selling...
And the penny drops. Bushing is a criminal, a thief. In the court of law, if I were representing someone in this case, if I were representing Christian Brueckner, I'd be pointing out that this guy's unreliable. He probably made up a story in order to reduce his sentence or to curry some favor with the police or the prosecutor. Also, I would talk about his character, in that I cannot trust anything a thief says. So do I think Christian Brueckner is a good guy? Of course not. I think Christian Brueckner is a despicable guy and belongs in prison for the rest of his life. However, so far in this story, this sensational story with some big bombshell, an apparent confession, so far I'm not convinced. We haven't heard the context of this phrase, "she didn't even scream" yet, and we will. And so far, the person reporting that Christian Brueckner said this is a thief, is a convicted criminal, basically.
Penny drugs, stealing stuff and everything. And at one point, Helge and another friend climbed into Christian Brueckner's flat and stole a video camera. And this video camera apparently contained tapes that showed how the suspect raped women. And this is basically how it all started. This is what led to the conviction of Christian Brueckner that brought him to jail now.
So we have this guy, a thief, who broke into Christian Brueckner's house, stole a video camera, showing Christian Brueckner. I'm not going to use the R word because I don't want to anger YouTube. So showing Christian Brueckner assaulting women. Does this mean Christian Brueckner kidnapped Maddie? No. And this is something I've had to point out a lot on my videos early on. My subscribers who have been around for a while obviously are familiar with this concept, and I don't need to point it out to them, but I have so many new subscribers. And thank you all for subscribing. But I do want to make this clear. You have to escape binary thinking. So Christian Brueckner bad does not mean Christian Brueckner kidnapper. Also, if I say Christian Brueckner did not kidnap Madeleine, that does not mean I think Christian Brueckner is good. Both things can be true simultaneously. Christian Brueckner can be an evil person who assaults women, kidnaps children, belongs in jail for the rest of his life. I've got no sympathy for the guy. But he can also be innocent of kidnapping Madeleine. And what the news loves to do is trap people who lack critical thinking skills into binary thinking. So if you don't support this side, you're evil. You support that side, well then you're bad. You can't support both. You can't not care. You have to have an opinion. No, you don't, right? You don't have to have an opinion on everything, especially one assigned to you by the news. And I think that is probably the most important thing I've said on the channel since coming back to YouTube. You have to escape binary thinking.
Okay, so where's the connection then between this Christian Brueckner being clearly a nasty piece of work and Madeleine McCann?
In 2008, the two men.
And that's the money shot of this interview. All right, so you have all this stuff on Christian Brueckner. How does it connect to Madeleine McCann? Now let's see if this is the bombshell, sensational thing that they've been building up at the intro to this news story. Or is this a nothing burger? Is this manipulation? Are they using priming in the early part of the news report to prime you to think that whatever they say next is more important than it is? Just like the headline on an article that does not reflect what's actually said in the article.
Men we're talking about met again at a festival in Spain called the Dragon Festival. It was kind of a hippie techno festival. And according to the witness, they had a brief exchange. Christian Brueckner asked Helge B., our witness, if he might go back to Portugal at some point to do business, as they call it, to commit further crimes. And Helge B. said, no, I can't go there because there's too much police. And then there was this exchange that basically shows the connection to the Madeleine McCann case, because Helge B. claims he said, how can a child disappear just like that?
So Helge B., this key witness who is a convicted criminal, thief, likely a liar, is reporting that he had a hypothetical conversation with Brueckner. This is already not looking like a bombshell to me. This is already not looking like a confession. And if you look at the cryon here, it says, Maddie confession. Prime suspect told pal she didn't even scream. Let's listen here. So he's reporting an unreliable witness, a witness with no credibility, is reporting a hypothetical conversation about Madeleine. Let's see if this is a bombshell.
To Portugal at some point to do business, as they call it, to commit further crimes. And Helge B. said, no, I can't go there because there's too much police. And then there was this exchange that basically shows the connection to the Madeleine McCann case, because Helge B. claims he said, how can a child disappear just like that? And according to him,
how can a child disappear like that? I could have that same conversation too. In fact, if I were in the business of kidnapping children or breaking into women's houses, I might actually have this conversation, right? Just like these two criminals had.
Christian Brueckner then said the now infamous sentence, well, she didn't scream. And that is what...
Yes, he's answering a hypothetical scenario. How did people not notice she was taken out of the house? Well, she didn't scream, obviously. It's a hypothetical conversation reported by a non-credible witness. However, the news reports it as a confession. The news is trying to set up Christian Brueckner as a fall guy. And what they have so far is very weak. So I see lots of people in my comments saying, Christian Brueckner did it. Haven't you seen the news? Christian Brueckner has been charged. Christian Brueckner is going to get convicted. This is the evidence. What that tells me is these people who think Christian Brueckner did it are not reading past the headlines. For example, comment saying, didn't Christian Brueckner confess to this? No, he didn't, right? This is being reported as a confession. This is not a confession. This is a hearsay conversation reported by a non-credible witness who is likely trying to make a deal with the prosecutor by throwing Christian Brueckner under the bus. And even then, the conversation reported is not a confession. It's Christian Brueckner replying to a hypothetical question, how could someone have kidnapped Maddie without getting caught?
This is what Helge B. later told police and Scotland Yard, and this is how basically things started, and police started investigating Christian Brueckner.
Right. So Bushing says that he alerted Scotland Yard.
Another question I get a lot on my channel is why are people covering up for Jerry and Kate, right? Let's say Jerry and Kate did it. Why are the police not pursuing Jerry and Kate? Why does the British government provide so much money to them every year to look for Madeleine? Why is the German government pursuing Christian Brueckner so hard rather than focusing on Jerry and Kate? And I get lots of people saying, well, Jerry's in the Freemasons, so that must be it. Or it's some big conspiracy that goes up to the top, or some ring of child traffickers that Jerry and Kate are part of. None of that holds any water with me. I've already actually addressed the Freemason thing in a previous McCann's video. So if you haven't seen what I think of the Freemasons, I spoke about them in a previous McCann's video, the one called, where is it? How to Derail an Investigation. So if you want to see what I think of Freemasons, watch this one. In that one, I actually showed a clip of a Freemason ceremony, right? Something that's a big taboo in the Freemason society. You're not supposed to show a secret clip of a ceremony. I showed it, nothing's happened, and the ceremony itself was laughable. So do I think Freemasons are the reason that Kate and Jerry are getting away with what I think they did, which was accidentally killing their daughter? No. I think it's a lot easier, more human explanation. So, as I posited in that video, I believe that politicians just don't want to accuse parents of killing their daughter. So what they do is they take the low stakes position of saying, okay, these are British citizens, they're in another country. If I have to comment on it, I'm going to say, I don't think they did it. We're going to offer them all the support we can. We'll send someone from the Foreign Office to help. Because that way, if the daughter is found and the parents didn't do it, the politician looks great. However, let's say they do find the daughter and it is proven that the parents killed her. The politician can simply say, oh, wow, I can't believe they did that. That's insane. What a shame. Poor girl. It doesn't look bad. The alternative would be to say, I think the parents did it, just like I do on this channel and many other analysts have done. You actually have to stick your neck on the line to be in my position. Because sensitive people who are not thinking critically will call you a villain for doing this, even though, in my opinion, I'm 100% correct. So if a politician took the brave route and said, you know what, there's something off here. I think the parents are responsible. We need to look into them. If it is later proven that the parents didn't do it, that politician will look like a villain. So the low stakes thing to do is simply support the parents. And if you are wrong, hey, I believe in humanity. I'm surprised they did it. Woe is me. Rather than getting pilloried for accusing innocent parents of killing their daughter. Now, when it comes to why does the British government continue to fund the search for Madeleine? Let me know in the comments before I answer this, if you can figure it out. So why would the government, once they've approved a budget, and I'll give you a hint, it relates to my previous answer I just gave about why the British government supported the McCanns in the past. So why would a government, once it's approved a budget to search for a missing girl, continue to approve that budget? Why would they do that? Is it the Illuminati? Is it Freemasons? Is it a sex trafficking ring that goes all the way up to the Prime Minister and the Queen, or the King now? No. It's because no politician wants to be the one to cut off funding. Imagine being the politician that says, all right, we're done funding the Maddie investigation. What would the headline say? Heartless politician ends search for Maddie. Evil politician condemns Maddie to death. Evil politician is part of sex trafficking ring probably because they do not want to find where Maddie is, and Maddie's probably with the sex trafficking ring, right? So no politician wants to be the one to cut off the funding. So it persists. It's a form of weakness via virtue signaling. No one wants to be the bad guy, even though they know what they're doing is wasteful and wrong. I don't think the politicians actually believe the McCanns are innocent, because if you've seen my entire series on the McCanns, it's very obvious. They are not sophisticated liars. They demonstrate all the tells of people who are being deceptive about covering up the truth. Where they have a lot of similarities with the Ramseys as well, who I also believe are accidentally killed their daughter. Or at least if Burke killed JonBenet, the parents were responsible for covering it up. So that is why those are basically the simple explanations for why the British government supported the McCanns from the beginning. Basically, it was political correctness, virtue signaling, why they continue to support them. Now, why does the German government, why the German prosecutors, why are they so obsessed with pushing this Christian Brueckner narrative? Once again, it does not require any conspiracy theory-laden explanation. We can use Occam's razor here. What is the simplest explanation? The prosecutor is probably trying to make a name for themselves. And this ties back to my Amanda Knox series. In that series, we had prosecutors who loved the media attention of the case, who wanted to make a name for themselves, and in doing so, cut corners, skipped over important avenues of investigation, and basically developed tunnel vision in order to gain attention, build their reputation. People's motivations are very simple, right? It does not require some Illuminati level orchestration behind the scenes for a prosecutor to want to solve a famous, decades old unsolved mystery. So regarding the German prosecutors, they've got a German. They have him in prison. They can work on him. And all they need to do now is extract a confession from him. If they can do all that, the prosecutor becomes a hero. The German police can celebrate solving this crime. They get news articles written about them. And they already know Christian is a very bad guy. So they're not expecting anyone to scratch below the surface. If they can pin this on Christian Brueckner, well, voila, case closed. We got a bad guy in prison. The McCanns can have closure, and we get to take the credit. And I think that is basically that might be what happens if people do not have enough critical thinking to see past the illusion, past the fake news. If I had to boil this video down to one or two sentences, it would be: fake news is achieved by priming people to believe whatever is said next in the news report. And secondly, by lying via omission, by leaving out context. This report, the Cryon, the entire time we've been watching, has said, Maddie confession, prime suspect told pal she didn't even scream. If you did not watch past the first minute of this report, you would think that Christian Brueckner confessed to killing Maddie or to kidnapping Maddie, and that he said he told someone that she didn't even scream. But if you have 1 ounce of the skills I'm teaching on this channel, you would be able to scratch past that surface and see what's really going on. And that's why I think this is one of the most important videos I've made so far on the channel, and it applies to every series I've put out since coming back to YouTube, as well as the series I made before leaving YouTube. So let's keep watching, see if we can find any more techniques. So far we have priming and lying via omission, leaving out context.
Yard in 2008 on this Maddie hotline, but he says nothing happened.
That's true. He told me when we met that he called the Maddie headline and he left his name, his contact details. He left the name and the contact details of the suspect. But he said they never got back to him. And then he basically claimed, okay, if they don't call me, they will just take care of it. And then a couple of years passed until the 10th anniversary of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. And Helge B says he then called again because he found out apparently nothing had happened since. And that was then basically what he says, well, finally someone listened to him.
Okay, so Helge Busching, clearly quite a shady character, stealing guns and videos from his shady friends, getting out of prison in 2017. Why do you believe him?
Exactly. So I got to give this anchor some credit. He started off with a ton of priming, which I did not like. Right? He said this is a sensational story. The cryon says it's a confession. However, he is asking good questions, reasonable questions. For example, his first question was, okay, you have this villainous, evil criminal, Christian Brueckner. How does he tie to Maddie? The only way he ties to Maddie is through the word of a guy who just got out of prison in 2017. Now, another great follow-up question. Why do you believe this guy?
Well, it is true. They all got a bit of a background of crime and petty theft. But it's actually not me who only believes him. It's also the federal prosecution in Braunschweig who basically...
So now we have a weak response from this guy. So this guy's out here telling us we have a confession. Kai Feldhaus, chief reporter of Bild. Right, so we have Christian Brueckner confessed to this guy, but it's not just me who believes him. Other people also believe him. So what? This reminds me of other videos I did where maybe it was the McCanns, my early McCanns videos. Actually, I'm going to find this clip to show you guys. Some of my early videos, my early McCann's videos, people would comment, you know that everyone thinks Christian Brueckner did it, right? You know the German police have Christian Brueckner in prison. You know he confessed. You know that he was in Portugal at the time she was kidnapped, right? Everyone in the BBC thinks he did it. Everyone in the British government, UK government thinks he did it. Everyone in the German government thinks he did it. The Portuguese think he did it. So what are you doing? And here is my response. Let me find this clip. I'm going to do a quick cut. So here's my response to people telling me that my McCann's analysis contradicts the BBC, the police, the behavior panel on YouTube, from the great Christopher Hitchens.
My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
Right. Wise words. So when it comes to Christian Brueckner, I've done my analysis on the McCanns. Unless something dramatically changes my analysis, I'm sticking with it. Because I didn't go into my McCann's analysis trying to pin anything on them. I went into my analysis with them a month ago, knowing very little about the case. And I developed my theory over, at this point, this is my 12th video with the McCanns. And in this series, I've come up with how I think Madeleine died, who I think did it, which parts of their stories I think are scripted and why I believe they're scripted and why I believe they are scripted, as well as why I think the Portuguese police stopped looking at them as suspects in my last McCann's video, how to derail an investigation, which I think might be one of the most underrated videos in this series because it explains a lot of stuff in ways that the real world works rather than ways that conspiracy theorists work.
His shady friends getting out of prison in 2017. Why do you believe him?
Well, it is true. They all got a bit of a background of crime. And
so why do you believe this guy? And now this chief reporter who's been reporting everything as if it's fact starts walking back, starts backpedaling. Because not even he believes this nonsense, right? So he's going to appeal to the masses. Well, it's not just me who believes it. Other people also believe it. So what?
And petty theft. But it's actually not me who only believes him. It's also the federal prosecution in Braunschweig who basically think him as credible to indict Christian Brueckner on the basis of what Helge B. said. So there seems to be some credibility. Right. And they went, from then on, they investigated further and they could prove that Christian Brueckner committed a rape case in 2004 in Pilot.
So now we have more character attack. We already established Christian Brueckner is not a good guy. He belongs in prison. But people who are trapped in binary thinking can't see past that. Christian Brueckner, bad. Maddie kidnapped, bad. Christian Brueckner kidnapped Maddie. That's not how logic works. Two things can be true at the same time. Christian Brueckner can be bad, even a kidnapper, even a sexual assaulter. Madeleine could have been kidnapped. Doesn't mean Christian Brueckner did it. Although, based on my analysis, I don't believe Madeleine was ever kidnapped. And I think it's fairly obvious to anyone with any degree of statement analysis skills or even critical thinking skills. Even if we leave out all the statement analysis, contextually, the way they reacted to a supposed kidnapping does not add up. That is not how people would react in that situation. For example, leaving the room to go look for Madeleine, but leaving the twins in bed. If you believed there was a kidnapping ring in the area, I doubt you would leave your twins alone in the bedroom again. You would only do that if you knew the story was fake. But that's just one contextual detail, right? We have dozens by this point.
By Lalouche, and that all started because of what Helge B. said.
And so what is Christian Brueckner's defense team saying about these claims?
Well, the defense team pretty much go after the witness being a shady person, of course. He has a history of drinking and maybe of drug doing as well.
Yeah, i.e. unreliable, i.e. this entire news report should have ended the minute they realized this alleged witness is not credible.
Also, it seems like what Helge B. now told me does not really match what another witness called Manfred Seifert said. They do not really match the...
So now we have this journalist who's reporting all this stuff about Helge B., saying that there's actually inconsistencies between Helge B.'s story and another alleged little petty thief, piece of scum witness. But notice how this is brought up. It's not brought up in the first minute of the interview. This is brought up 4 minutes and 39 seconds into a 5.5 minute interview. So all the context is eventually disclosed, which is good, but only after prompting by the anchor and only at the end of this segment. So if someone tells me, I saw an interview on Talk TV where it showed that Christian Brueckner confessed to kidnapping Maddie, I know that they have not watched past the first 20 seconds of the story. Or if it was a written story, I know they have not read past the headline and maybe the little blurb. And this is not limited to stories about Madeleine, which is why I say this is one of the most important videos I'm showing you. One of the most important videos I've made that applies to almost every series we've done so far. Because fake news is everywhere. People have agendas, and it's not necessarily some nefarious Illuminati level agenda. Often people, news anchors and influencers lie with good intentions. Right? They think that they're doing you a favor by duping you or leaving something out. In this case, they might even be telling themselves, hey, between themselves, when no one else is listening, look, we know Christian didn't do it. Did he do it? No. But he's a bad guy. We can get him to make a confession if we cut a little deal with him. Maybe we'll put a TV in his prison cell because he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life anyway. This will bring closure to the parents. The British government will be able to save tax dollars because they can end the search. So this will actually benefit the British citizens. It'll benefit the Portuguese citizens because they won't have to have a Madeleine task force anymore. They can end that. Hey, and it will also help our careers. I can put my kids through college with, the raise I'm going to get for solving this case. So it's win-win-win. That's right? It would be win-win-win if they had pinned on Christian, but it wouldn't be the truth. And that's the important thing. it wouldn't be the truth. And on my channel, I came back to YouTube because I care about the truth. I want people to be able to spot when someone's lying or when someone's manipulating them. And the news has become more and more manipulative in the time I was gone, which I thought was impossible. And this is just one example of it. I wanted to teach this lesson, but I had to tie it to a video in a series that my subscribers would actually watch. I had to find a way to tie it to the McCanns. So if you think this lesson's a little bit shoehorned, that's fine, right? I've shoehorned other lessons into the McCann series where I pointed it out as well. So maybe this is shoehorned in, but it's an important lesson. The way to spot fake news is to actually think critically. Notice how I'm not pointing out individual words here like we do when we're doing a typical interview analysis of a subject. The way the news lies is actually much easier to spot. And it's all through priming you. Right when you turn into this interview, you see Maddie confession at the bottom of the screen. You're primed to believe that when Christian B said she didn't even scream, that was a confession. In reality, it's not at all. It's a hypothetical response to a hypothetical question reported by a non-credible witness, and the guy who was reporting this story, who's covering the story, admits that himself. But he only admits it 4.5 minutes into the interview. So you have to think critically.
What the two persons have seen and heard. So this report.
The other reason I want you guys to watch this video and share this video out is because when this is eventually pinned on Christian Brueckner, let's say they pin it on him tomorrow, believe me, they will come for my channel. So I want to put this out there so at least you guys who are subscribers right now can see the truth if and when this is finally pinned on Christian Brueckner. And remember, when I was doing low stake stuff, like when I first started YouTube, when I was calling out influencers for using steroids or calling out video gamers for cheating, and I was eventually proven correct, I got kudos. The channel grew and grew. Like I hit something like 25,000 subscribers after 3 videos, just because, or 3 or 4, 3 or like something like 3 or 5 videos, because each video I made came true. Each prediction I made based on statement analysis was proven correct, and people flocked in to subscribe. However, with these true crime ones, and one reason I've been avoiding true crime is because with true crime ones, there's more elements. There are PR firms working for the Ramseys, right? PR firms on retainer for the Ramseys, PR firms on retainer for the McCanns, on retainer for, I think, Amanda Knox too. And you can see the PR firms at work now. So I can see the bots and the orchestration happening on the channel in real time. After I made my, I think, 2nd or 3rd Ramses video, I started seeing bot comments that all of a sudden disappeared after I commented about them. So they were bots basically saying dogmatically, the Ramseys are innocent. You don't know what you're saying. Ramseys are innocent, pointing out things that weren't even in the video. And then I think YouTube eventually flagged them as bots and got rid of them. Or in my flagged comments, I actually posted a screenshot of this on X. I had little bots mimicking my channel and commenting to people. So pretending to be me and commenting with some WhatsApp phone number thing. So I think that some of those, especially the Ramsey ones, are likely bots from a PR firm, something along those lines, right? Just bots that track whenever you use the Ramses tag in a video on YouTube, and they go and they try to control the narrative. Regarding the McCanns, I've already covered their head communications guy and how to derail an investigation. Clarence Mitchell, I think his name is, right? Who runs a PR firm and he works for the McCanns full time. And I can anticipate it. once they pin this on Christian Brueckner, that PR firm is going to go to work to try to spread the news, to try to comment on every comment on my video saying that Maddie's kidnapper has actually been caught. The McCanns are innocent. I don't know what I'm talking about. Right? Pat Brown, who mentioned me in her last video, right? They'll say she doesn't know what she's talking about. They'll say Peter Hyatt doesn't know what he's talking about. Basically, anyone who's stood up against the McCanns searching for truth is going to get pilloried, I think, in the next few months once they pin this on Christian Brueckner. And all it really comes down to is what deal they make with him to get a confession out of him. They have all the cards in the Christian Brueckner case. Bargaining is a big part of the legal system, the give and take. Also, Christian Brueckner apparently wrote like some 4-page letter in prison saying he didn't do it, protesting his innocence. But I cannot find a copy of that anywhere. Apparently he wrote it in English, and all I can see on news articles are just screenshots of the letter. And I would love to analyze that letter, to see if it's credible or not, to see what he reveals in his word choice. So if anyone has a copy of that letter, please comment below, let me know, or send it to me on X, because I think that would make a good video. Especially if he says something in that letter that does not align with the confession he'll eventually give to the Germans if they get him to confess. So we'll be able to see an inconsistency in things he said over time, which may indicate that he was compelled into finally admitting whatever they wanted him to admit.
Probably what the defense will be after when it comes to a court case against Christian Brueckner.
So German prosecutors, he's their prime suspect, and they're going after him. What sort of timescale are we looking at?
That is pretty difficult to say. According to Hans-Christian Wolter, who's running the prosecution, I met him 2 weeks ago, he said there's not much happening there. We are looking at another indictment, another rape case that Christian Brueckner might be in court for in the next couple of weeks, probably months, because there's a bit of dispute what court is actually responsible for this.
That's when I think, when his other rape case goes to court, that's going to be their opportunity to cut the deal with them. So expect, if we get a confession from Christian Brueckner, if they get him to roll over, it will be when they're cutting the deal with him on that second case, whenever that goes to court. So mark my words. If we see one, there will not be a coincidence. The confession will come around the time of that other case, because that's when they will be bartering with him on his sentencing for that case. And they'll be able to say, look, if you help us close this Madeleine McCann case, if you admit you did it, just tell us you did it. We'll give you a lighter sentence. We'll give you a cushier prison because you're helping us save so much money and, helping relieve the stress of these parents who have been under duress all this time wondering what happened to their daughter. So just admit you did it. We'll cut you some slack on the sentencing, and we can all go home happy. That is how it will happen if it does happen.
No time frame for a Madeleine McCann court case. I think this can be said.
No time frame for a McCann case, because they know they have no evidence. So it's going to come down to that other case. That might be why he's their fall guy, why they picked him, because he has another case. They know they're going to get him on that one, and they know they can negotiate pinning Madeleine on him if they give him a lighter sentence on that one. So mark my words on that. Hopefully this has been useful for you. Don't believe everything you see in the news. Remember the words of Christopher Hitchens that I played here. If you feel something in your gut and based on your own analysis, you should follow that, but keep an open mind that if other things come into play to change your mind, you need to be able to accept those too. So don't get trapped into tunnel vision or binary thinking. Before we wrap up this video, let's just do our comments Q&A section. I think this is a fun segment to add to each video. It's got a great response so far, so we're going to continue doing it. I've only done it on the Ramsey so far. So this will be our first one with the McCanns. So I'm just going to read and react to the top comments from my last McCann's video. The last McCann's video was how to derail an investigation. So let's look at 5 or 6 comments. And usually you guys have great points here, so I've not looked at all these yet. At least not since the first time I read them a little while back. 5 days ago is when I did this video. All right, so the first comment from Ellen Mogensen. Normal parents do not focus on their child's pure, perfect genitals being torn apart as Kate McCann did. This is a quote from her book, Madeleine. Normal parents do not get annoyed and say we've been through all that, as Jerry McCann did many times. And then she gives a list of things that normal parents don't do. I'm just going to focus on the first one right now. So in Kate's book, apparently she talks about imagining or having a dream or something along those lines of Madeleine's pure, perfect genitals being torn apart. Why did she mention that? Personally, I think it's just because it helps support their narrative of a stranger kidnapping. So Kate and Jerry both want everyone to believe that Madeleine was kidnapped. However, there is no evidence of the kidnapping. So I think this is Kate's way of sort of introducing evidence to gullible people that there is evidence Madeleine was kidnapped, because she had a dream of these people doing something with her daughter, and it was graphic, so it must be true. In reality, I don't believe in visions or any of that voodoo. And I don't think Kate does either. I think this is just Kate's way of trying to introduce some evidence that Madeleine is still alive and is being abused by a kidnapping ring without actually having any evidence. It also displays a contempt for her audience. It actually shows that she thinks that the people who read her book are stupid if she thinks that they will interpret her dream as actual evidence. And there's lots of reflections of Kate and Jerry thinking people are stupid because they've been proven right so far. Even when they said something along the lines like they made some comment about how easy it was in a previous video. I forget the exact quote. If you remember, please put it in the comments. But to me, when they said that line, it indicated to me that they couldn't believe Madeleine hadn't been found yet, that they didn't think it was going to be so hard for the police to find her wherever they placed her. So I do think that Kate and Jerry have contempt for the people who read their book. And as I always say, liars always have contempt for the people they lie to. So I think this line comes from Kate relaying something she saw in a dream, which is her way of pushing her narrative because she has no proof that Madeleine is kidnapped. And just demonstrate that her lack of respect for the people she expects to believe that. All right, this one's from a member, Mel. Thank you for being a member of the channel. I seriously cannot believe how bad the behavior panel botched this one. My only training comes from YouTube, and it's so obvious to me. I love the behavior panel, but this makes me question everything they've said. Wow. This comment got 121 likes, 45 replies. I've never actually watched the behavior panel. I've watched like a clip from them, so I know it's like 4 guys with a bunch of credentials. My main thing with them getting it wrong is either, first of all, I don't think body language analysis is beneficial to anybody. I think unless you're Ekman, unless you can actually record someone responding to a question and freeze frame and analyze their micro expressions, it's not going to be very useful on the fly. And what I teach on my channel is spotting lies on the fly, watching a video together, usually a video I've never seen before, and picking out the lies and sort of weighing up our poker chips on how much we want to bet that the person is lying, which I think is a useful skill to have in real life. I feel like body language analysis is too subjective. So whether or not you can tell someone's lying, it doesn't really tell you what they're lying about. There is no leakage, for example, your body can't pick things to bring up, right? It's just you're interpreting someone folding their arms or looking to the left or looking to the right, or I really don't know what they do. But I personally tried to ignore it. So either the behavior panel getting the McCanns wrong is just more proof that body language analysis is a waste of time. That's just too subjective. Or it might simply be that they are bullied into not calling out the McCanns. Lots of the McCanns are very litigious. When I first started covering the McCanns, as I've said before, lots of people told me, oh, they're going to sue you. They're going to take down your channel. They're going to come after you. They also said that about the Freemasons. So far, I'm still standing. The reason is probably because I'm an attorney and people understand if you go after an attorney, you are opening up a can of worms. For example, if the McCanns came after me for slander or libel, my defense would be truth, and I would make it my mission to prove that they killed their daughter and hid her body. So I think they understand that right now I'm using these videos as a way to teach deception. If they piss me off, it will become more content for my channel, and I will be on the defensive, and I will put all my resources behind proving they did it. So behavior panel might not want to make that wager. They have a very big YouTube channel. They might not want to put anything at risk. Also, their names are out there. Ever since day one, deliberately, I have used the glasses, used the hat, used the headphones to mask my identity, because when people use their real names or get doxxed, it affects what they talk about. They will not cover certain topics because they know there are crazy people out there. There are mobs of people. The mob is not something you ever want to deal with. The mob is not rational. The mob is a sadistic force. And if someone points out a victim, sadistic people love to form mobs and go attack someone. So I keep my identity a secret, and it makes it a lot harder to try to attack me in a nefarious, underhanded way. So the behavior panel getting that wrong might have been accidental because they use body language analysis, which I think is voodoo, or because they simply don't want to open up that can of worms. All right, let's see. I've never known, this is from Bob. I've never known parents of a missing child to require the services of a spin doctor, as well as the need to sue detractors from their narrative of the events of May 2007. The parents have got away with at least a case of neglect and with their careers intact and still feted as victims. Bob's right. If having a spin doctor, especially Clarence Mitchell, is a very powerful thing to have. And I did a whole video about Clarence Mitchell, their spin doctor, in my last McCann's video, how to derail an investigation. Clarence Mitchell, as I said, has an almost Scientology level of bullying persuasion in order to browbeat and cajole people and bully them into doing things. I actually think that Clarence is so adept at that he might have been one of the big reasons the whole Portuguese investigation was derailed. So the threat of lawsuits, the threat of having your name dragged through the mud, having more friction in your day-to-day life by getting doxxed can definitely influence what people do. So I agree. Having a spin doctor is unique. I don't know of too many parents of kidnapped children who get spin doctors and get ones that are full-time. And this was pointed out in another comment on another video, and I thought it was a great point. So not long after Clarence Mitchell started representing the McCanns through the British Foreign Office, they hired him full-time. So Clarence Mitchell quit his job in the British Foreign Office to work for the McCanns full-time as their PR guy. What is the red flag about that? Well, if someone quits their job to represent the parents of a missing child full-time, it means that person knows the child is not going to get found anytime soon. Clarence Mitchell wouldn't risk his livelihood if, for example, he quit his job, moved to Portugal to help the McCanns, and then Madeleine was found the next day. Now he's out of the job because she's found. They don't need him anymore. So I think that he has, although he'll never admit it, an instinct of the truth, because he knew when he quit his job, he was going into a full-time job that he would not lose anytime soon when he began representing the McCanns full-time. If a girl's actually missing, you don't know if she's going to get found in 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, 3 months. You don't quit your full-time job to go represent that family unless you have some sort of job security. So I think he can also see through the nonsense. Like I said, the McCanns are not sophisticated liars. They're no Casey Anthony. They're not psychopaths. Even though some of my viewers seem to think they are. They are not psychopathic. They are not sophisticated liars. They have to use basic lying techniques like scripting, avoiding questions. They're not the bold-faced psychopaths that can lie directly to the police and update their lies in real time like Casey Anthony or Jodi Arias. True psychopaths can do that. So the McCanns need a spin doctor to hold their hand. And I think that spin doctor, Clarence Mitchell, actually knows the truth himself. But then again, he also has a non-nefarious, non-Illuminati level reason to support them. They're paying him, right? If he were to turn on them, he would lose his paycheck. All this stuff can be explained by just human instinct. Politicians do not want to take the risky opinion on anything. So they're going to support the parents of a missing child. Politicians do not want to cut the funding off any sort of charitable cause, because if that funding has been in place for years and they're the one who cuts it off, they look like the bad guy. So it's better to just let it persist. And Clarence Mitchell, if you're getting paid to represent people, just like an attorney, you're going to represent them to the best of your ability. I don't blame him for being a British bulldog for them. All right, let's see. Susan Wan, I noticed a couple things from your previous videos. When Kate talks about entering that room, why did she not mention the twins? Either I saw the twins, then noticed Madeleine missing, or I couldn't see Madeleine, so I immediately checked to see where the twins were there. Yes. Great comment from Susan. That's how you know the story is scripted. Lying is very difficult. You have to think in 4 dimensions. When you're not actually in that situation, you don't know what you would actually do. The whole point of that scripted story of Kate entering the bedroom, noticing Madeleine missing, and then seeing the window open is the money shot of saying that the window's open to imply that Madeleine was kidnapped. Everything else, like the twins laying there, is tangential to the narrative she came up with. So she just doesn't mention it. In reality, yes, a mother would immediately, if she noticed Madeleine was gone, she'd go check the twins next to make sure they're not gone too. But because that's not part of the narrative they're trying to build, the story, the painting they're trying to paint of a kidnapping, the twins don't factor into it. And if you want to know how I know that story is scripted, why I think it's scripted, this is a very important video in the series, how to spot a fake story, and what is missing from their story, and how repetition reveals lies, right? So these all delve into the various aspects of a scripted story. Let's see. Let's just read the rest of Susan's comment here. Also, when Jerry was talking about putting the children to bed that night, he had already said the usual routine was that Maddie stayed up a bit later. But then that night he states he put them all to bed at the same time. Could that mean she was already gone by then, so he didn't mention Madeleine? So he didn't put Madeleine to bed at all that night? Interested to hear your thoughts on this. That's a great catch. Nice catch from Susan. I might have to watch another McCann's interview where they describe that night. I think almost every interview they do, they are asked about what happened that night. And another red flag is that they always give a very vague response. So let's see if we can find another. I'll see if I can find another interview of them where they're asked to describe what happened that night and see if he leaves out putting Madeleine into bed altogether. That would be strange if that echoes across different stories. And I might actually have to go back and watch the interview Susan is referring to. Yeah, because that is a big catch. If he's leaving out part of the story, there's a reason for that. And then Artemis and Ollie here, a member, says that's a good point. I agree. That was a really good point. All right, let's just read one more comment here. And I suggest if you guys like my videos, do check out the comments section. I have the smartest subscribers on YouTube. And if you see the little member badge next to them, it means they're especially good detectives because they have access to the member section where I put extra material. And it usually implies that they've been around on the channel for longer. So they're more familiar with things I say in the videos, certain patterns I point out. So this is a good indicator, the little baby DD head that the commenter really knows what they're talking about. But almost every comment is very good. All right, let's see. All right, we'll just read this one here. This will be the last one. Brian Stewart, I'm so glad you've done this video. Clarence Mitchell is a red flag himself. My take on his involvement as spokesman for the McCanns is simple. When your child is missing, it's always best to control the narrative. I agree. I actually think the McCanns have been scared of losing control of the narrative since day one. They are petrified of losing control of the narrative, which is why they do so many interviews, why they wrote the book, because they need people to buy into the stranger kidnapper hoax. Otherwise, the finger will point back at them. So they are constantly pointing the finger outward because they know as soon as they stop, as soon as people get tired, or as soon as people see through their story, the finger will inevitably point right back at them, the same way it was pointing at them in the beginning of the investigation, until the British government and Clarence Mitchell got involved. So I do believe that Clarence Mitchell is a very big figure in this McCann story. He's intrinsic to it. I think he is a powerhouse of persuasion strong enough to derail the entire investigation. That's how powerful he is. And some of the tactics he uses are tactics you see in Scientology. In other words, nuclear level persuasion that most people in polite society are not used to. So let me know if you want me to do a video on that. Right? We don't have enough enemies here. So let me know if you want me to do a video on the techniques that Clarence Mitchell uses so you're able to spot them yourself. They are unique persuasion tactics, a very dark art bullying type of persuasion. But someone with those skills is good to have on your side. Don't get me wrong. All right, let's see. From Chief Spin Doctor Propagandist for the government. So this is more of Brian's comment. From Chief Spin Doctor Propagandist for the government to their spokesman is some leap and a very curious one. But let's face it, it worked for them. I agree. Hiring Clarence Mitchell might have been the best move the McCanns made. And it's also scared off a lot of people from talking about the McCanns, especially in the UK. And I think lots of the behavior panel is British, right? Or at least one or two of them are British. And I think they feel a lot more pressure than I do as a McCann talking about the McCanns. Over here in the US, Clarence Mitchell has very little power. All right, let me know if you like this segment. More McCanns to come, more Ramseys to come, more Amanda Knox to come. I'm also going to do another poll soon so we can introduce another series to our lineup of ongoing series on the channel. Until next time, stay true.